In the novel New Dawn, written by John Jackson Miller, Kanan Jarrus comes into contact with Hera Syndulla for the first time. Hera met Kanan on Gorse and its moon Cynda approximately 6 years prior to the events of Star Wars Rebels, where she found him as a drunk. With Hera being very beautiful and Kanan being a young rogue like Han Solo, there was definitely some attraction involved, and Kanan first fell in love with Hera by the sound of her voice. But their companionship went beyond the romantic aspect, as they found a common enemy in the Empire and the urge to do the right thing by fighting back. Hera was a young rebel whose goal was to liberate the planet Gorse from a sinister Imperial officer, Count Denetrius Vidian. During an incident relating to the mining operations on Cynda, Kanan revealed himself to be a Jedi and instructed Hera not to tell. After working together, Hera was the one who helped Kanan turn his life around and offered him a position on the Ghost crew, which Kanan accepted, and together they would start the seeds of rebellion. When we first meet them in Rebels, the romantic status is very shallow to say the least. Hera calls Kanan love at times, and they have this bond that immediately feels like they're playing the role of mother and father of the crew, but the actual details of their relationship with one another is kept very reserved from the audience. We know they love each other, but how far that love extends isn't exactly clear. The first time we begin to understand how much Hera cares for Kanan is during the final episodes of the first season. Kanan sacrifices himself and is captured by the Empire, and she is stricken with sorrow, but instead of making a reckless decision to rescue him, she chooses the rebellion first. She eventually helps in rescuing Kanan from his brief captivity aboard the Star Destroyer, and the two embrace once he's back on board the Ghost, but the romantic implications between the two are still subtle. It continues on this way throughout much of the second season, with a few private moments shared between them. That is, until the third to last episode of season 2. Kanan must set out on a dangerous mission with Ezra and Ahsoka Tano, a mission so dangerous in fact that there is the very possible chance that he might not return. Hera doesn't want him to go, but she can't come along on this mission, not this time. Kanan promises that he will return and embraces her in a long, drawn-out hug. This is the first time the romantic aspect between the two of them has cranked up a notch, providing us with greater understanding of how much they really mean to one another. When he returns, blinded by the encounter with Maul, the relief and joy she feels that he has returned mixed with the pains of sorrow that something horrible happened to him is very emotional. This is a foreshadowing of what will happen to him later down the road and how much Hera cares for him. On infiltrating Lothal, the band of rebels has split into groups while heading through the streets to avoid Imperial activity. Hera and Kanan for once have no one with them. No Chopper, Ezra, Sabine, or Zeb. It's just them, all alone in a dark alleyway at night. Things turn romantic real fast, and Kanan takes advantage of the solitude to talk to Hera in an intimate way, telling her how he wishes he could see her. She responds by removing the mask that covers his damaged eyes to remind him that he would always be able to see her. They are about to kiss, but are really interrupted over the comms. In the very next episode, the intimacy between the two characters is still there, but they keep it together, choosing to return to the task at hand rather than smooching every 2 seconds. However, just when it seemed like things were going to return somewhat to a subtle romance, Hera lands a whammy on Kanan and the two lovebirds finally kiss. Kanan and Hera's relationship embody this unrushed philosophy, allowing the arrival of romantic aspect to the story to be rewarding rather than annoying, which I greatly appreciated in the writing. It's also why Kanan sacrificed to save his friends, and most importantly, Hera's was so gut-wrenching. She had just finally told him that she loved him, they had kissed to seal the deal, and they would go on to be married, and then boom. Literally. When I was watching this for the first time, it felt like my heart had been ripped out of my chest and torn in two. I really felt for Hera in this scene, and it didn't help that the writers continuously reminded us of Kanan's death had affected her as she dealt with her grief for much of the rest of the season. But from the sadness sprung joy. Hera would go on to have a son named Jacen Syndulla and the child of Kanan Jarrus, which was a heartwarming touch to what would have been a truly unfortunate conclusion for the both of them if they had never had the chance to have children. I just love the mutual respect between the two of them, how they chose duty over love 98% of the time, even though they were always in each other's presence, and I love the aspect that even though he was a Jedi, he didn't play by the rules. Since we've now seen a young Kanan and Hera in the Bad Batch, maybe we'll get to see on screen in the future shows or movies about how they met and the missions they went on together when they were younger.